Okay, you guys, what's up? This is Oja Senpai here today to do a manga must-read video. Today to recommend you guys a manga that I want you guys to read. Now, I'm gonna be doing this for two other series, Toriko and Vagabond. Right now, I'm gonna do this one for Kingdom. Now, I can't put a link to the manga in the description box down below because where I read it from, it's illegal. So you guys have to check from Google, Bing, whatever search engine you use, and read it from there. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of hype when it comes to this manga. There's a lot of hype, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna use a lot of hype in this video because this video is just for you guys to know how good this manga is and my rating for it. Not, oh, I love this manga, I'ma hype it up to all hell. No. It's going to be like an actual, video, a rating of what I'm gonna give it for. So let's get started, alright? To me, the Kingdom manga, what I like about it is something that a lot of people wouldn't look at if you only read like the first few chapters of it. Like, for example, a lot of people say that, oh, Kingdom is just a war, it's just a manga about war hype. It's just a bunch of wars and people just love it. That's true, but there's a deeper meaning to it. You know what I mean? Like, it's deeper. It's a lot deeper. And the reason why I say that is because the war hype can extend to the character progression with the other generals and commanders in the war, as well as Shin being the main character himself. And there's also story progression in the sense that it links to the story. It can branch off in different ways and different aspects. And as well as Shin's main character progression, because the more wars he fights and the stronger and much more capable he becomes. So let's dive right in. I'll go through a few points and then just I'll say my thoughts on different characters. The first things first. Shin, first things first. The characters in the story. I haven't met a character yet that I don't like, and I'm caught up with the manga. So, let me explain. Every character I've met so far, whether it's a bad guy, whether it's a villain, whether it's an antagonist or protagonist, whether it's a hero, I like them. Overall, they're pretty enjoyable characters. Especially the main characters and some of the side characters that are major important. For example, I like Shin. I didn't like him at the beginning because he was a little bit too annoying, too much of an idiot. He was kind of bad to me. But as the story progressed and Shin became a commander of men, and he became the more wars he won, the more men he commanded. He became a lot more amiable, a lot more likable, until the point now where I actually do like Shin a lot. He reminds me of Part 1 Naruto. If you guys remember, if you guys read Naruto or watch it, he reminds me of Part 1 Naruto at the beginning, and he still reminds me of Part 1 Naruto to this day. Even after I caught up to the manga. So, just great. So to me, with Shin being the main character, I like him a lot. I really do. But moving on. When it comes to other characters like Ten, King Sei's brother, Shobuku, those guys, they're pretty cool. They're really cool. And I like them a lot because you see character progression within themselves. But it's mainly, for the older characters, it's mainly, character progression for them in the sense that they're starting to see Shin as an actual commander, as an actual leader of men. Whereas beforehand in the story, they thought of him as an idiot, They thought of him as a washout, as a servant boy. They actually see him as a commander now these days. Now, so the characters themselves are very nice, especially King Say is really nice. And when I go to before I go to the next point, this is the first time in any series where my favorite character is a female. That's some crazy shit. My favorite character within Kingdom is a female. That's the first time because normally with shonen manga that I read, the ones that I read, the female characters aren't really that relevant or really that cool. Mostly it's just the male characters. So when it comes to this seinen manga that I'm reading now, Kingdom, the female characters are very, very important, very hyped. It's like you see these female characters and you're just like, wow, this is amazing. Like these women are powerful in their own rights, and they're important to the story. They're important to Shin as a character and his goals. This is the first time where my favorite character in the series is a female, and her name is Kyokai. Now, and Kyoko, I have a bias because I like assassins. Like, if you see me, I like Assassin's Creed. I like Killer Wolf from Hunter x Hunter because he's a former assassin. I like assassin type characters. You know, characters that focus on speed and agility and stuff like that. So to me, that's just awesome. I think that's great. That's really, really cool. But moving on from that, so that's my favorite character is Kyoko, first female main character. It's not because I'm sexist. I just like this is the first female character I've ever had because usually the female characters aren't really that interesting. Now, moving on. The next point I want to make is the wars that take place. Now, there are two things to the wars that I like: strategy and the duels that take place. Like, for example, the strategy in the series is not just what you think it is, like normal, like, oh, battlefield, like, you know, that Battlefield video game, not that kind of type of strategy or risk or anything like that. It's that, but it's also more. There's different types of strategies that they can employ. The morale of your men and in your army in combat, how that affects certain people, how that affects certain armies. Even if you have like 100 dudes, you can pretty much take on like 1,000 if you try hard enough and you have a good strategy. Sorry. So the strategy to me is amazing, and it, when you really read it, you're like, whoa, like this is some really great A strategy. And you won't see this type of strategy until you actually go into the series further when it comes to like Shin's campaigns, like how he goes to each and every campaign and he becomes stronger. Now, granted, Shin at the beginning of the story, you can even tell then he's not good with strategy. At least not the strategy that you would think. He's he's more instinctive. He's more like his instinct is awesome, but it's that his mind isn't set for strategy. If you know what I mean. So moving on from that, the strategy is great. The next thing is the duels, the fights that take place, because every fight you don't see Shin just like when it comes to the duels, like duels between certain commanders and certain generals, like they actually have one-on-one duels and shit. Like you have two armies on both sides just watching a duel go down. Like General this versus General that, or General him versus General her. It's just like, like they're just fighting and the armies are just watching. I love those. Those are amazing. Those are fantastic because you see Shin. He even goes up against some of the commanders in battle, and he struggles his ass off. You see him, he's struggling because some of these commanders, they're pretty damn strong. They're pretty damn powerful. And it's like, bro, it's like Shin's actually struggling, and that's good. You know, you need to push your limits sometimes. And these commanders, some of their abilities are very, very important. They're very, very, like, amazing. Like, skills that they have are the reason as to why they're so powerful today. That's amazing. That's very good. Um, so the duels to me are very nice, especially between duels that people that are really important, like top tier dudes within Kingdom. That's very nice. Like great generals between each other. Number three, and these are tied together kind of. The great generals and how the characters react, how the characters respond to within the story. The great generals are amazing. It's like when you take a look at the generals in Kin, where Shin is, you take a look at the generals in Zao, in Wei, in Chu. It's like, bro, these guys are crazy. It's like they do like superhuman feats sometimes, and you're sitting here like, what the fuck? Like it's borderline amazing, but it's like for example, when it comes to some of the commanders that rely on strength, you just see their strength and you're like, dog, what the fuck? They just go in and it's nasty. And mind you, because it's a seinen manga, they don't focus on the physical aspect too much. Like they don't focus on, oh, this guy has superhuman strength, he can move a building. No, that's not what they do. What they do pretty much is just like it's normal human strength, but it's exceptional. Like, oh, check out this guy, he can move a large boulder. Oh, check out this guy, he punched one guy and this guy flew into like a building or like a chair. Like that's what they do. It's more like peak human strength, but with really like it makes you think, whoa, like what the fuck. So that to me I think is amazing. But so like the generals themselves, they're just awesome. They all have different personalities. They all have different views on the battlefield. Like even though they're all battle hardened soldiers, they all have different views on how warfare, tactics, stuff like that. Some generals don't even use strategy. They just go in and they still win. And the way they explain how they win is amazing. So when it comes to that, I'm just amazed at the great generals, the generals and the commanders themselves. When it comes to the characters, like it kind of ties into point one, but it's a little bit different. Each character in Kingdom is important. Even some of the lowest fodder soldiers are important because of the wars and because of how they have to fight. Even some characters that you don't see for a while, they're really important. Either they die and they give like some type of what was I trying to say? Either they die and they're really important, or like for the morale for some of the men, or they don't die and they become antagonists or protagonists in the story. That's where I really like all the characters in Kingdom because they're all important. Ten is important. Shin is important. Um um yeah. Even the king's what's his name? Even the king's like well, lover kind of is important. So to me, that's just awesome. And the fact that I can enjoy almost every single character, that's a really big feat in of itself. Because usually when I read series, I usually have series that I don't like certain characters. But within this series, almost every single character I've seen, I've liked, or at least I've respected, I've acknowledged their presence. So very good. Now, the final point, to wrap it all up. The flaws in Kingdom. Now, you guys are probably thinking, oh shit, you were hyping up Kingdom all this time. What are you talking about flaws now? There is one particular flaw, and it deals with Shin. Now, Shin, his strength is very good. It's very nice. The way they could describe it's pretty good. But at the beginning of the series, when you see him and you see how powerful he is, it's kind of like you're thinking, it's kind of weird, kind of like it makes sense, but at the same time, it's like, well, in real life, that really doesn't happen. Now, granted, this is a manga. Real life shit doesn't happen here usually, especially within seinen and shonen. But when it comes to Shin, his strength is slightly exaggerated in my personal opinion because when Shin, like, I'll say this: when Shin fights this assassin at the beginning of the story, I won't tell you when, I won't tell you how, I won't tell you what happens. Shin fights this assassin, and you can tell that he's struggling, but Shin himself is actually winning the fight. It's like, dog, it's like, wait a second. And Shin, from what we know, despite the fact that he's just a kid at the beginning of the story, like he's like 12 or 13 or something like that, despite that fact, Shin did train with his friend Hio with swords, like wooden swords and stuff, and they've been training for a long time. Now that makes sense. Here's the problem though, Just because you're farmers and you train with swords for a long time doesn't mean that you can beat skilled assassins. I'm just saying. Even if Shin did kind of struggle, it's kind of bullshit. And if you think that that's the reason why you don't like Kingdom because it's kind of over exaggerating it, despite the fact that it's not a shonen manga, that makes sense, and I can understand why. But I think that's the only kind of flaw that I've seen within the series. Most of the series, it's pretty perfect. I won't say it's like godlike, but it's very good. It's very good manga. And to wrap it all up, my final rating for this manga, I'm going to give it a 8.5 to a 9 out of 10. Again, the whole thing about Shin's strength being so exaggerated, kind of an issue. I mean, you would think that this is superhuman, but technically speaking, it's the seinen manga. Seinen manga doesn't focus on superpowers that much. They just focus on regular human strength and being stronger, like being, getting stronger over time, but it's regular human strength, like regular feats, stuff like that. It's not pushing apart buildings or throwing buildings or shit like that. It's just regular human strength. So it's going to be an 8.5 to a 9 out of 10, somewhere around that range. I suggest you guys read Kingdom. Again, I can't put it down in the description box down below. I can't, because illegal sites and stuff like that. But I'd suggest you guys check it out. It's pretty good. I like the series so far, and I am caught up. And not only that, when the next chapter comes out, I'll start reviewing Kingdom. Now, and before I go, one thing, somewhere around here there'll be an annotation. I'll link my two other manga must reads when I do them, when it's ready. Like I'll link them somewhere like in an annotation in the video when you guys will see it. So yeah, like the video if you like it, dislike it if you don't, rate, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later. I'm Oja Senpai, and I'm signing off.